He's not supposed to be on the court.
It don't
He's
matter.
not supposed to be on the court.
Giannis talked to him. Forget all that.
No, he was on the court.
So what?
You think he said something? He probably didn't know who his dad is.
Stop it. Giannis said something.
No, because he's on the court in his face.
So what? Everybody on the court.
You can't do that.
Yeah, you can.
No, you cannot do that.
Giannis said something to him.
Giannis didn't just stay quiet. He aired it all out. On live TV, he called out Shaq and Tyrese Halliburton's dad, who's been acting more like a hype man than a parent lately. And believe it or not, Shaq actually tried to defend some of the wildest fan behavior we've seen in a long time. This whole circus started over a towel, a crushing loss, and one grown man who stormed the court like it was his moment in the spotlight. But the real explosion happened when Giannis finally said what everyone in the league had been too scared to admit. Halliburton's dad crossed the damn line.
Having a fan, which at the moment I thought he was a fan, but then I realized he was Tyrese's son, which I love. Tyrese, I think, is a great competitor. He was his dad, sorry. Coming in the floor and showing me his son a towel with his face. This is what we do, this is what we effing do, this is the F we do, this. I feel like that's very, very disrespectful. You know.
I don't care. He's always on the court.
He should not be on the court talking to other players.
Bro, Giannis said something to him. He didn't say nothing to Giannis. No, he did not.
No, that's not true. He couldn't have said
walking in the line behind his son.
What do you mean walking in line behind his son? He shouldn't be on the court. He didn't play in the game.
Always on the court.
No, he shouldn't be.
And Shaq standing up for that, straight up embarrassing. Here's how it all went down. Game 5, Pacers versus Bucks. Indiana snatched the win, 119 to 118, with just 1.3 seconds on the clock. Tensions were through the roof. Players were shaking hands, coaches shouting across the hardwood, and out of nowhere, John Halliburton, Tyrese's dad, bolts onto the court like he's about to sub in. No security in sight, no one stopped him. He walks right up to Giannis, gets in his face, and holds up a towel. Not just any towel, but one with Tyrese's picture plastered on it. Giannis, still standing there solo, had to eat all that disrespect while cameras were rolling. This wasn't just passion, it was straight up overstepping. Giannis was heated, defeated, hands on his hips, trying to process the loss. And then here comes Tyrese's dad, running his mouth like he owned the court. At first, Giannis thought he was just dealing with some overhyped fan. He even said, at the moment, I thought he was a fan, but now it clicked real quick. It was Tyrese's father storming the hardwood, holding up that towel and saying, this is what we do. This is what we foxing do. Disrespect off the charts. This wasn't no playful back and forth. This went way deeper. Giannis hinted there's way more to the story, but he's holding back. He straight up said, I don't want to drop all the details. I don't want to be a snitch. Then he added, I come from the hood. If I open my mouth on what really happened, man, that sentence didn't even need to be finished. You felt the weight of it. Giannis didn't say it outright, but he was definitely dropping hints about lawsuits, courtrooms, maybe even NBA bans. He kept it cool on the surface, but that one statement spoke volumes. This situation went way beyond anything that fits under sportsmanship. It crossed a serious line. Now here's where the drama explodes. While folks all over were dragging Halliburton's dad for acting like some delusional courtside superfan, Shaq jumps in on Inside the NBA and basically says he always on the court, he just celebrating, let him have his moment. Wait, what? Shaq really called Giannis soft for being mad. Then he doubled down and said it was stupid that anyone felt disrespected by a dad just being hyped. That takes straight up wild. That's when fans went in on Shaq. Social media was flaming him nonstop. And here's the twist. Even Tyrese had to keep it real about his dad. He straight up said, I don't think my pops was in the right at all there. We'll talk. That was unfortunate. No excuses, no sugarcoating, just truth. He even told reporters, he needs to let me play and stay in his seat. I'll come to him if we win. Now that's how a grown man handles messy family business, with honesty and respect. Tyrese didn't try to spin it. He didn't throw shade at Giannis, he just owned it. Major props for that. And after all the chaos, the Pacers had to step in. They sat John Halliburton down and made it crystal clear he's banned from home and away games for now. No more sidelines, no more theatrics. That energy, not welcome in the building anymore. And guess what? He agreed to the ban, banned from watching his own son play live. The Pacers made the call and John Halliburton didn't argue. He accepted it, took it on the chin. But here's what most people don't know unless you really dig into the footage. Tyrese's mom might have actually smacked Giannis. Yeah, you heard that right. Rewind if you need to, check the angle. That woman standing right behind John, she makes a move, a quick swing, and it sure don't look like no regular cheer. Viewers online are saying she low-key smacked Giannis in all that chaos. Now, was it on purpose? That part's still unclear. But let's be real. If it were anyone else's mom, the headlines would be screaming, "Family attacks Giannis." The media would have gone into full meltdown mode. And even after all that, with cameras catching everything, Giannis kept it cool. He literally gave John Halliburton a thumbs up as the man walked away. That's how much he tried to stay composed. Even after being clowned, disrespected, and losing a playoff game in front of the world, you'd think it would end there, right? Not even close. Shaq wasn't done. He doubled down the next night on Inside the NBA. When Ernie asked him why he kept defending John Halliburton's actions, Shaq didn't ease up. Instead, he got louder and way more defensive. He acted like he was ready to stand on this take forever, no matter how messy it got. Chuck and Kenny tried to cool things down, but Shaq, he wasn't having it. He kept cutting everybody off. Classic move when he knows he's wrong, but too stubborn to say it out loud. You could see Ernie looking uncomfortable, like he was thinking, is Shaq really out here defending people storming the court? And the internet, oh, they snapped back quick. One person posted, not even sure what point Shaq is trying to make. Halliburton's dad was wrong. Literally everyone said it. What is Shaq even defending? Another chimed in, Shaq's ego too big. He ain't standing up for Halliburton's dad. He's just trying to flex on Giannis for showing emotion. But the coldest take of all, someone wrote, Shaq loud and wrong per usual. If Giannis had kicked Halliburton's dad, what then? He's a fan. He shouldn't even be on the court. Reddit was roasting, Twitter was on fire, YouTube comment sections flooded with people calling Shaq out. And just to top it all off, fans pulled out receipts. They reminded everyone how Shaq once admitted to putting hands on people himself back in the day. So why is he suddenly acting like emotions don't matter? People weren't buying the tough guy act this time. Remember when Shaq himself admitted he punched 5 people while playing for 6 different teams during his career? Yeah, that actually happened. But now he's out here acting like Giannis got too emotional just for speaking up. See, Giannis didn't run to a podcast or fire off some cryptic sub-tweets. He waited. Then he dropped the truth with calm precision. Just because he's humble doesn't mean he's gonna stay silent forever. And folks picked up on it quick. This felt like Giannis telling the old heads, you don't run this league anymore. Stop defending nonsense. Let's not forget, Shaq once said Giannis was better than he ever was at age 24. But ever since then, he's been backpedaling like crazy. Remember that awkward moment when someone asked Shaq, do you still think he's better than you? And Shaq just froze? Couldn't even give a straight answer. Now that Giannis has a finals MVP, multiple MVPs, and one of the cleanest reputations in the entire league, it's looking like Shaq's feeling that old school jealousy creeping in. One fan on X said it best, Shaq needs help. That take was so off, it needs a whole rehab program. The new era's here, and Giannis isn't playing quiet anymore. Let's be real, Shaq's jealousy toward Giannis is getting obvious now. This isn't the first time Giannis had to bite his tongue just to keep the peace. The deeper you look, the clearer it gets. Giannis has been holding back for years. He's always been one of the most respectful stars in the league. Never ran to Twitter, never started drama, always kept it classy. But now he's done being quiet because when folks cross that line, and let's be honest, what Halliburton's dad did wasn't just fan hype, it was personal. This goes way deeper than one moment on the court. Rewind back to 2021, Bucks win the championship, Giannis goes nuclear with 50 points in a close-out finals game, and what do the analysts say? He got lucky. It was a fluke. If KD's foot wasn't on the line, it would have been a different story. That kind of hate after that kind of greatness, disrespectful. And now, years later, even after proving himself again and again, Giannis is still dealing with folks trying to play him soft. So when he said, I come from the hood, I don't want to be a snitch, that hit different. That wasn't just about basketball. That was about pride, loyalty, and knowing when people are trying to cross boundaries they shouldn't. Giannis kept it solid for too long. Now he's finally letting it out, and it's long overdue. Man, that line hit hard. That wasn't no polished, media-trained version of Giannis. That was real Giannis, the one who used to sell watches on the streets of Athens just to help his family eat. The one who slept in one bed with all his brothers. The one who had to share sneakers with Thanasis because they couldn't afford a second pair. A lot of people don't know, back in Greece, Giannis grew up facing racism, poverty, and constant threats of deportation. He was grinding just to survive. So when he said, if I speak on what happened, there'll be lawsuits, he meant every word. That wasn't some vague warning. That was him saying Halliburton's dad might have said or done something so wild, so off the wall, it could have turned into a full-blown legal storm. Some fans even started speculating online. Did it get that ugly? Did racial slurs come into play? The fact that Giannis didn't say more, honestly, that silence says everything. And yeah, I believe it. That's what makes this whole thing even crazier. No fines, no public statement, no changes to the league's security protocols, nothing. Let's keep it real. If that was a random fan, they'd be banned for life. But this man ran straight up to a franchise superstar, got in his face, and waved a towel like he was taunting him in a street fight. If that didn't happen on live TV, people would be calling it assault. But because it was a player's dad, the league just looked the other way. Makes you wonder, what if Giannis had reacted? What if he pushed John Halliburton back? You really think the media would still be calling Giannis classy? Absolutely not. They would have torn him apart on every show. ESPN, Fox Sports, Bleacher Report, all of them would have been running Giannis loses his cool headlines for days. And this is where Shaq's logic completely crumbles again. Like we mentioned before, Shaq's admitted he used to get physical back in the day. But here's another wild inconsistency. Remember how he clowned JaVale McGee nonstop for like a whole year? He made it into a recurring segment on Inside the NBA just to humiliate him. But when Charles Barkley cracked a joke about Shaq's weight, suddenly that was too far. Now it's personal? Shaq picks and chooses who he defends, and Giannis clearly ain't one of them. Feels like he only protects the stars that stroke his ego. If you're a threat, Shaq downplays you. That's the vibe. This whole drama just exposed how deep the double standards run in the NBA, especially with the old heads. Giannis gets heat for being quiet and respectful. Ja gets clowned for being too loud. Steph catches hate for being cocky, while LeBron gets flack for being too calculated. But Halliburton's dad acting like a toddler in a casino, and somehow that's just passion? Nah, miss us with that excuse. That's not passion. That's out of control. And even now, with all the dust supposedly settling, people still ain't letting this go. This Giannis versus Shaq versus Halliburton family mess just won't fade. And you know why? Because the NBA has stayed dead silent about it. That silence is making everything even louder. The internet is buzzing with questions, and none of them are getting answered. And here's where it took another twist. Just hours after fans absolutely torched him online, Tyrese's dad, John Halliburton, dropped a public apology. I sincerely apologize to Giannis, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Pacers organization for my actions following tonight's game. This was not a good reflection on our sport or my son, and I will not make that mistake again. Sounds polished, sounds clean, but fans weren't buying it, not even a little. To them, it felt like damage control, like the apology only came once the internet came down hard, and now the big question is, will the league finally change how it handles player safety and family behavior on the court? Because clearly, the line's been crossed. Fans weren't fooled, not for a second. They pointed out how John Halliburton stormed the court like he was the 13th man on the roster. Got all up in Giannis's face right after a heartbreaking playoff loss, mocked him with a towel, and allegedly cussed him out in front of live TV cameras. Then he tried to sweep it under the rug with a quick "oops, my bad" apology. Come on, that wasn't remorse, that was straight up PR cleanup. Let's be real. He only said sorry because the team made it crystal clear he wasn't welcome anymore. And right after that apology dropped, the Indiana Pacers confirmed it. John Halliburton's banned from attending games home and away for the foreseeable future. So, was that apology really heartfelt or just a last-minute move to save face? This whole situation exposed something major. The NBA is getting way too soft when it comes to security on the court. This ain't just about one guy acting wild. This is about player safety. Think about it. If this was a random fan, they'd be tackled, cuffed, and banned from every NBA arena before the night was over. But because it was a player's dad, he gets a slap on the wrist and a voluntary break. And that's not just wild, it's dangerous. The NBA is acting like this isn't a big deal. But what happens when the next fired up parent crosses a line even further? What's it gonna take before they finally tighten things up? This ain't just about Giannis anymore, it's about setting a precedent. Because next time a fan crosses that line, you already know what they'll say. Well, Halliburton's dad did worse and got away with it. And they'd be right. That's the dangerous part. Let's also call out the obvious. Shaq's brand ain't what it used to be. He's become the goofy uncle of NBA media. Still loved by many, sure, but this whole situation, it pulled the curtain back and exposed a side of him people weren't ready for, a side that's cool with letting disrespect slide as long as it fits his narrative. And since Giannis made it clear he wouldn't spill the full story, fans have been connecting dots on their own. The internet's lit up with wild theories, some even speculating that a racial slur was thrown, which might explain Giannis's heavy "I come from the hood" line. Another theory says the Bucks were ready to press charges, but Giannis told them to stand down. Now again, this is all speculation, nothing confirmed, but with how silent and vague the NBA's been through all this, fans are filling in the blanks fast. And here's the thing, this could actually change the league for real. For once, the NBA might have to take action. Don't be shocked if new rules pop up soon, like stricter on-court access, tighter family seating, and clear penalties when lines get crossed. Because now, the whole world's watching. The NBA needs to set clear rules, especially around buzzer-beater moments, because if they don't act fast, they're basically telling the world, yeah, it's cool to walk up on an NBA superstar, talk trash, and nothing will happen. That's a dangerous message to send, and best believe Giannis is watching all of this. Let's run it back real quick. Giannis got ambushed on the court right after losing a brutal playoff game. Halliburton's dad ran up, waved a towel in his face, and possibly cursed him out on national TV. Giannis stayed composed, handled it with serious class, but he also made it crystal clear he ain't letting that kind of disrespect slide. Meanwhile, Shaq, he backed the wrong dude and then stood his ground even after fans, media, and half the internet called him out. Not once did he walk it back. Tyrese Halliburton owned up. He said his pops was dead wrong. The Pacers responded by banning his dad from all future games. But the NBA still dead silent, like they're just hoping it fades away. But Giannis wasn't gonna let that happen. And he said the words that cut through all the noise. This was disrespectful. I come from the hood. I don't want to snitch, but don't push me. And that right there, that's when the whole league started paying attention. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Was Shaq way out of line for riding so hard for Halliburton's dad? Should Giannis have gone even further with what he revealed? And real talk, should the NBA have stepped in and dropped the hammer on somebody? Hit that subscribe button if you're here for the real talk, no sugarcoating, no spin, just facts every single week. And stay locked in because this saga, it's definitely not over yet.